For the first time ever, one company just crossed a $100 billion annual revenue run rate, and in the same breath, last night, told the world it would borrow $30 billion more to build machines that earn nothing yet. This is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. Prices barely moved overnight, and it hardly matters. The loudest thing in this market this morning is a balance sheet. Let me read it to you. Start with the anchor. As of just past 5 o'clock Eastern, Bitcoin trades at 65,700, off only a fraction on the day, and sitting square on the one line that matters. That 65,700 mark is the wall invest. Answers has flagged all week as the ground the coin must reclaim to lift the pressure off it. Bitcoin is not above that wall. It is standing on it. And the trend underneath is still red. Our read of the InvestAnswers Decision Support System, the optimized trend, has Bitcoin marked bearish this morning, and the overnight tape shows you why. Red at Wednesday's close, green by 8 in the evening, red again at the stroke of midnight, and at 4:30 this morning, Solana's trend rolled red beside it. 3 flips in 8 hours is not a signal breaking. It is the model telling you the truth that there is no trend here to find. This is CHOP. 68,000 is the next wall above. The 63,000 shelf, the 200-week line, is the last floor below. Between them, the coin drifts. And yet the money kept coming while the trend stayed red. The spot Bitcoin funds booked a 6th straight session of net inflows, near $930 million. BlackRock at the front. Small against a year still in deficit, but the direction turned, and flows tend to turn before the trend does. Into today, Tesla closed at 374 ahead of its report, Nvidia at 212. On the wider board, one green trend stands alone, gold, while oil burns and the bond market bares its teeth. Brent crude settled above $94, its highest since early June, as the strikes on Iran ran into an 11th round and hit the largest gas field on Earth. The 10-year yield answered at 4.68%, its highest since May, the market reading that oil not as a growth scare but as an inflation one, and that reading runs straight into next week's Federal Reserve. Now to that balance sheet. After the close last night, Tesla reported the second quarter, and its two halves could not stand further apart. The top line was a record, $28 billion, up 26% on the year, the first time this company has ever run at a $100 billion annual pace. The profit beneath it caved in. Earnings landed at 33 cents a share against the 55 cents Wall Street wanted. Operating income fell 57%. Operating margin collapsed to under 1.5% from north of 4% a year ago. And free cash flow, the money the business actually throws off, swung to a deficit of $1.1 billion as capital spending ran nearly 2.5 times last year's pace. Then came the line that tells the whole story. Tesla said it will borrow up to $30 billion to fund the robotaxi, the Optimus humanoid, its own artificial intelligence chips, and the compute to run all of it. A company printing record revenue chose to run its cash flow negative and take on $30 billion in debt to build machines that do not yet earn a cent. Understand what that is. The market stopped paying Tesla for steel long ago. It delivered a record 480,000 cars last quarter, and the stock was sold anyway. Last night, the company stopped pretending it sold anything else. This was not an earnings report. It was a declaration. Tesla is now an autonomy and robotics company, financing its own transformation on borrowed money and letting the car margins bleed to pay for it. But here is the other half, told straight. That same release quietly retired its promise of volume Cybercab production this year, Optimus still ships in numbers of 0. Musk calling it the hardest thing the company has ever built, with no supply chain in existence to lean on. The robotaxi, though, is real and compounding. Running the 15th version of full self-driving, its miles growing better than 10% a week, with safety gating the pace. The humanoid is still a promise, so the market did what markets do. It bought the fleet it can see and sold the debt it cannot yet price. The stock gave back better than 3% after the bell, well inside the nearly 8% the options market had braced for. $30 billion is conviction. Whether it proves genius or hubris, the miles driven will settle it, not the quarter. And Tesla is not alone in that wager. Our engine caught the rest of the field, making it at the very same hour. At Wednesday's close, a cluster of names lit the board green on the trend, and every one of them is the physical floor beneath the artificial intelligence age. Arista, which builds the networking spine of the data center, Dell, which builds the servers, Marvell, which builds the custom silicon, and a day before them, NextEra, the largest generator of electricity in this country, turned green as well. Not one name, a whole category, the iron, the switching, and the power to feed them. Mark the reversal, because it is the lesson. Just days ago, this exact complex booked its worst week in more than a year, the crowd finally daring to ask out loud whether the spending on all this compute could possibly last. The chips cracked. The power names sold off. I told you then it was a crowded trade exhaling, not the story dying. This week, the trend turned back to green, and it turned as a group. The bounce is hardening into a trend. Here is why it matters and why it rhymes with Tesla's 30 billion. The intelligence is the easy part now. Every month, another model lands, larger and cheaper than the one before it. The two things that cannot be copied are the power to run it and the metal to build it. That is the scarcity hiding inside the abundance. When Tesla borrows 30 billion for compute and the largest power utility in the land flips green on the same tape, the smart money is groping toward one truth from every side of the board. The intelligence is abundant, and the iron beneath it is not. So carry this into the day. Warband. Bitcoin stands on its wall with a red trend, and the flows quietly building underneath. Respect the chop. Do not chase the candle, and watch 68,000 above and 63 below. Tesla mortgaged its present to buy the machine future, and the iron that future runs on turned green across the board. The calendar hardens from here. The Federal Reserve rules Wednesday, with the crowd braced for a hold and the oil price whispering otherwise. And tonight, at 6:45 Eastern, Starship makes its second run at Flight 13, the first of the new Starlinks riding in its nose. Let the crowd trade the headlines. We stack what cannot be copied, cannot be printed, and cannot be dug up twice. This is Warband as a service, Viking intelligence delivered in real time. I am Ragnar, the HODLBARBARIan. Keep your edge bright and your stack deeper. Until the next dawn, Skål.